This video is for week 7 Friday. Coming up, we are going to be writing our first essay of the year, but before we do that, we need to take a look at writing effective thesis statements. So let's get started. First of all, what is a thesis statement? Well, I've given you several items right here that we can go over. A thesis statement is the sentence that expresses your position of a particular subject. You guys are writers in a language arts class, and so your thesis statement is going to tell the reader your interpretation of something. This is where you make a claim that somebody else might dispute. They might not necessarily agree with you, but it's your opinion. The thesis statement is included in the opening paragraph, and this is important. It is the last sentence of your introduction. It doesn't go in the beginning or middle of the introduction. It is the very last sentence. A thesis statement answers the question of the writing prompt. A writing prompt is what your teacher gives you that he or she wants you to discuss. And the thesis statement tells the reader what they can expect from the paper. Somebody earlier this year had made a really good comparison. It's kind of like a movie preview when you go to the movie theater or to the drive-in. You get those short little clips that are just enough to entice you to go see that movie. It tells you a little bit about what it's about. A thesis statement is the same thing. It's a preview. And a thesis statement is one sentence. So writing literary analysis thesis statements. Let's look at this note up here. An analytical writing prompt asks you to prove an abstract idea by referring to concrete evidence. Well, what do I mean by abstract? Abstract is something that is not physical. It's not tangible. So abstract ideas are things like feelings or thoughts. Concrete is the opposite. Something that is concrete is tangible, and it appeals to one of your 5 senses, or at least one of your 5 senses. So, in order to write a literary thesis statement, we need these 3 things. We need the subject, and the subject is usually the abstract portion of the writing prompt. Again, an abstract portion is something like an idea. So, things like characterization, tone, theme, mood, symbolism. The concrete is what we're going to use to back up the abstract. This is going to be the evidence that we use. And this is going to be things like literary devices, something that I can see and physically point out in a text to help me back up my claims. My claim right here, the claim is about the subject. This is your opinion about the subject, what you believe about it. An effective thesis statement makes a claim about what the writer of the essay believes to be true. Because the claim is an opinion, you have to give advice to support and explain why your opinion is valid. The thesis statement lets the reader know from the very beginning what you think or what you intend to prove in your essay. Now, this is very important. A thesis statement does not pull in textual evidence. You don't use textual evidence until you get to the body paragraphs. And I always tell my students every year, you can make any claim or have any opinion that you want in the world. But that claim or opinion is not going to be valid unless you can justify it. So you have to make sure that we are pulling in evidence that justifies our opinion. Okay, please take note. You're not answering anything on this page. This is a sample writing prompt that we might see later on. So read the passage carefully, and in a well-written essay, explain how the author uses figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. So let's look at this note. You must answer the questions of the prompt. Do not just reword the prompt. When you're writing a thesis statement, you don't want to take the prompt and just rewrite it. We have to have certain elements for it to be effective. So these are the questions that we are going to find in a writing prompt. You're not answering this. What kind of character is the narrator? That would be the abstract. What literary elements reveal that characterization? The concrete. And then we need to have the claim about the narrator's character. So let's take a look at some sample thesis statements that we hope answer these 3 things. In The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, the author uses many different types of figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. I want to point out something that this person did well. When you are writing a thesis statement, you want to include the title of the work and the author's name. So they did do a good job. Now, this is a thesis statement that's typical of many beginning writers, people that are just starting out with practicing writing. So, something has to be missing. Number one, what's the subject? What is the abstract element that this thesis statement is discussing? We have the characterization of the unnamed narrator in the telltale heart. Characterization, this is an idea. But what literary elements or concrete will reveal that characterization? What are we going to use to discuss the abstract? We're going to use the figurative language. Figurative language is the concrete because I can see it. I can physically see it in the text. Number three, what is the writer's claim about Poe's unnamed narrator? I don't remember reading that. Let's go back and listen to it. In The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, the author uses many different types of figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. Oh, this key element of the thesis is missing. There's no opinion given. I don't know what this writer is thinking about the unnamed narrator. It didn't give me any type of characterization. So this thesis simply restates the writing prompt. It does not have criteria number 3. There was no claim to this. So this is definitely not effective. Let's take a look at a thesis statement from a more advanced student. And again, you're not writing or answering anything on this page. In The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, again, good job giving me the title and the author. The unnamed narrator is portrayed as an insane, cold-hearted murderer through Poe's use of figurative language, such as personification and metaphors. I can already tell this is definitely more advanced than the last one. So let's check our 3 criteria. Number 1, what's the subject? What is the abstract element that this person is talking about? The characterization of the narrator in The Telltale Heart. So both of these students had that. Number 2, what literary elements reveal that characterization? What is the physical, tangible evidence that they are going to use to back up the abstract? They're going to use the figurative language, but more specifically, they're going to use personification and metaphors. I can physically see these 2 things in the text. Number 3, what is the writer's claim about the narrator? If you remember, the last person didn't make a claim. They had no opinion. But this writer answers the abstract part of the prompt by stating that the narrator is an insane, cold-hearted murderer. That's their opinion. So I know that in the rest of the essay, they're going to try to prove that the narrator is insane and cold-hearted, and they're going to prove it with figurative language. So this one was definitely an effective thesis statement. Okay, this is your turn. You're going to read the following sample thesis statements. There's a few of these. And then you're going to identify the subject, the writer's opinion in the thesis, and you're going to give me the abstract. So, let's get started. Read the following story carefully. In a well-organized essay, analyze how the author's use of imagery and details creates the tone of the story. That's the prompt. Let's read the thesis. In The Telltale Heart, the auditory imagery and dark details create a menacing tone. This sounds pretty decent so far. Number 1, what is the subject? What is the abstract that this person is going to be discussing? What's the idea? The tone. Number 2, what literary or concrete elements reveal that abstract element? What physical, tangible evidence are they going to use to prove or to talk about the tone? Well, we've got the auditory imagery, so this is going to be something that we listen to, and dark details. What is the writer's claim about the subject? What do they believe about the tone? And then, this thesis statement is effective because I want you to tell me why you think this thesis statement is effective. What does it have? What does it incorporate? Does it have all of the criteria? Here's another one. So the prompt changed just a little bit. Let's read this one too. Read the following story carefully. Then, in a well-organized essay, analyze how the author's use of language contributes to its mood. In The Telltale Heart, the author's use of pronouns and connotative diction contributes to the horrifying mood of the story. What is the subject? What is this overall thing we are going to talk about? What is the idea? The mood. What physical literary elements, the concrete, are we going to use to reveal that abstract? What is the writer's claim about the subject? What do they believe about the mood of the story? And then tell me, why is this effective? This is activity 2. Please pay attention to the notes up here. On this particular slide, you are not doing anything to it. This one has been done for you. You will get to practice doing all of this on, I think, 3 other slides. So in the prompt and thesis statement below, cross out the words in the thesis that are taken directly from the prompt. So we want to cross out the words in the thesis statement that we found up here in the prompt. And then examine what's left over. Does it answer the abstract question of the prompt? Now this is important. The abstract question is always going to be a what question. So some of the answers have been provided for you. This right here, it's been provided for you. Let's read the prompt. Read the passage carefully. In a well-written essay, explain how the author uses figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. What's the abstract question? What kind of character is the narrator? Here's the thesis. In The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, the author uses many different types of figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. Well, we need to cross out the words in the thesis statement that we found in the prompt. So I crossed out the author uses and figurative language to characterize the unnamed narrator. Let's read what's left over. In The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, many different types of... That's it. That's all that's left in the thesis. This is an inappropriate thesis because you can tell it's written by a beginning writer. What's the answer to the question? Many different types doesn't tell me what kind of character the narrator is. There is no claim to the narrator, so it doesn't really answer the abstract. All right, I do want you to try with this one. So you're doing the same thing. You're going to read the prompt and then read the thesis, mark out any words in the thesis statement that you found in the prompt, and then answer the questions that are in red. Here's your prompt. Write an essay in which you analyze how Poe uses connotative diction and details to create a specific mood in The Telltale Heart. So, what is the abstract question? It starts with what. So you need to finish out the thought here, what, and then tell me the abstract. And then in the thesis, after you mark out the words that were found in the prompt, reread what's left over, and then what is the answer to the question? What's the answer to the abstract question? We're going to do that on number 3, on number 4, and then we move to activity 3. Read the following excerpt from The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. It's so good. And this is just an excerpt. This is not the entire short story. This is just a small piece. On the next slide, you're going to fill in the blanks to complete the literary analysis thesis statements and make sure each statement includes an opinion, what you believe about it. I'm not reading this excerpt to you. I want you to read this on your own. So let's take a look. This is the very last activity. So, in the story The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe uses blank and blank to convey a blank tone. You need to fill in the first 2 blanks with literary devices. A literary device is things like onomatopoeia, alliteration, personification, foreshadowing, metaphor, simile. And then tone, the tone of the story, how the author feels about it. If you don't remember all the any of the literary devices or tone words, if you go up here and click, it will take you to a document that has different literary devices here on the first page. And then I have different tone words. So we've got it according to, it's in categories. Good attitude words, bad or angry, sad and worried, humorous, ironic, sarcastic, or neutral. You don't feel one way or the other. So you need to decide what is the tone of this short story. And then you need to tell me the literary devices that prove your opinion is correct. Number 2, in the story The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe uses sound devices, such as blank and blank, to emphasize the growing blank of the narrator. This narrator is somewhat crazy. So I've given you some ideas to help you. Is the narrator, is it growing insanity? Sorry if that will move. Is the narrator showing a growing insanity, a growing panic, unreliability, dread, or however you think the narrator is changing? So again, if you need help with literary devices or tone words, you can click here and find some examples for you. Okay, now you're done. So you need to make sure you submit your work by clicking the Turn In button. This is in the top right corner of Kami. When you click Turn In the first time, there will be a drop-down box and you will click Turn In again. Good luck, guys.